All right, take it away.
I'm Luke. He's Matthew, and we are Talkin Blue podcast. I know we said we were going to post about 2 days ago, and we have recorded about 8 different times and lost it 8 times. It's been a journey, but just like the Giants season, we're here and we worked hard to get here. So, I guess, talking about the Giants season, I think Brian Dable is the number one guy to talk about right now. Last night, obviously, won Coach of the Year. You want to talk a little bit about Brian Dable, Matthew?
Yeah, he did nothing but an amazing job coaching the Giants this season, and I couldn't be more impressed with how he coached. He won Coach of the Year last year. There was no one who deserved it more than him, and I'm just amazed how he took a team who was expected to win 3 games this season to the playoffs and won a game.
And you want to look at what they were last year. Joe Judge could be sneaky hit on the 2-yard line because he didn't want to take a safety, and the Kenny Galladay signing that ended up being a bust, and everything just seemed like it came together this season. Daniel Jones came together, Saquon Barkley came together, defensively the pass rush came together. Everything the Giants have been working on has came together. So I guess we'll go through the guys. I first want to talk about Daniel Jones and the impact he's had on the Giants winning this season.
Yeah, he had one of the biggest impacts on the Giants winning, and he kept
on working.
Yeah,
you look at what Kafka and Brian Dable's been. They've coached some of the greats of the league right now. Josh Allen for Brian Dable, and Mike Kafka was the Chiefs QB coach. He worked with Patrick Mahomes, and you look at Daniel Jones, the way he was playing, he kind of looked like them. A lot of design runs to him, and a lot of broken plays that he made plays, and a lot of throwing on the run, a lot of crazy plays Daniel Jones made this season, and a lot of it was using his legs. I go back to say the 2008 2012 era, the Giants had Bradshaw and Jacobs, a great running back duo, 2 power backs. They had Saquon this year, had a great season, 1,300 rushing yards, and they had Daniel Jones. Maybe he wasn't as big as him, but he was strong, and he really did have a good running season and a good throwing season. He put it all together. Talk a little bit about how Daniel Jones' legs helped bring the Giants' offense, more points, really.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, his entire career has been a very mobile quarterback, and when you think of mobile quarterbacks, he's not really the first name that would come to your mind. Most likely, the names that would probably come to your mind would probably be Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields.
Yeah. And Daniel Jones, he was able to do something special with help with the coaches. I want to talk a little bit about Saquon Barkley because he was a finalist for comeback year, 1,300 rushing yards, 10 touchdowns. A great season. The last 2 seasons, ACL, high ankle sprain, it's been tough. Talk a little bit about how his impact on the Giants.
Yeah, he had a huge impact on the Giants, probably the biggest this season, other than Brian Dable. Player-wise, I would say Saquon had the biggest impact. He had 2 big injuries and was able to bounce back and be his rookie self this season.
And what I think is really special about the Giants and what Saquon was able to do is the Giants this year's scheme, as I like to call it, is Brian Dable knew this roster, they can't go on to just beat a team. It's going to be close and it's going to come down to the wire. And what Saquon Barkley was able to do, he was able to be that 2-minute warning running back. When you feed the running back and he gets the first down, we saw him do it too many times this year. You remember in that Washington game, Thibodeau had his first career touchdown. Saquon Barkley won the game. He marched him 50 yards down the field. You talk about the Chicago Bears game when he was playing Wildcat because both the Giants quarterbacks got hurt. His under 2-minute running is that's what you need for a team. You need to survive games, and in late games, you need your run game to pick up, and that's what they did. So you talk about that. Let's talk about how the receiver corps helped the Giants win football games.
Yeah, this season, throughout the course of the season, the Giants, what it looked like was that they had no receivers and like all practice squad guys. Like throughout like the end of the year it was Darius Slayton, Richie James, and Isaiah Hodgins. Like Isaiah
Yep,
Hodgins.
Darius Slayton did not dress the first game of the season. Richie James was supposed to be a returner and strictly a special teams player. Isaiah Hodgins wasn't signed until midseason. No one could have wrote that script. And you know what? I think, you look at it, the Giants didn't have to have the biggest star. And New York, a lot of times the fans want the star. And the Giants didn't need a star. They just needed a collective groups that wanted to win. I think they really had it. All the Giants players talk so much about how special this year was. And it was special. You had guys that you've never heard of making big plays in big moments. And I also want to definitely touch on the defensive pass rush. Matt, you're a big Thibodeau fan. Take it away.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite player on the Giants. I even became an Oregon Ducks fan because of him.
Yeah.
And they drafted him 5th overall. He wasn't like the guy I originally wanted them to draft 5th overall, like in like the first round, like for defensive players. I originally wanted Kyle Hamilton, the safety out of Notre Dame. He's a Raven now. I'm fine. The Giants got Thibodeau. He's the guy who I wanted second most. But like if you told me we were getting him at the time, I'd be really happy. But yeah, like I just like since like the beginning of the season, like he's become like my favorite player, and like I've loved watching him.
You talk about the other rookie. You got right tackle Evan Neal, and what a special season it was. He had some injuries, but you know what? He started at the end of the season. He started picking up his game, and you look across the way. You got Andrew Thomas on the left, and Andrew Thomas he didn't have a good first year, and Evan Neal wasn't a great first year either. But I think the greatest thing about tackles is they need a year to develop, and you can't judge the first year because if you judge the first year on Andrew Thomas and you got rid of him instantly, you wouldn't have an All-Pro left tackle. Debatably the best left tackle in the league on your left side, protecting Dan Jones' blind side, which is what you want. And and then you got Evan Neal on the right side that's developing. And if you have two good tackles, that is just excellent. Right, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely helps out the offensive line, and it's been like the Giants' biggest struggle for the last couple of years. And I feel like now that we got like a young offensive line, like good young offensive linemen, I think we're gonna have the offensive line the next like 3 seasons is gonna be great.
Yeah, and then you want to talk about what the Giants' main focus. The last 3 years, it's been line, pass rush, and cornerbacks. The cornerbacks injuries, so I can't give you a fair. They played well enough to get the Giants to not give up deep passes, but I can't say they played great. There was injuries. There was practice squad players. They survived, and that's what matters. But they survived. Definitely the cornerback core. What Super Bowl cornerback core, and that showed against the Philadelphia Eagles. But it was good enough to take them to the divisional round. I really want to touch on the pass rush because that's what really got them here. I want to really talk about Dexter Lawrence. Take it away, Sexy Dexy. He's one of your favorites, Matt. Take it away.
Yeah, I love him. He's been unbelievable this season. Like I don't think anyone could have ever predicted like him to be like nearly as good as he was, and he just had an All-Pro season. Like he led the Giants in sacks, which like I don't really think. I thought he was going to be like top 4 in
but
sacks.
Nose tackles, it's not as easy for them to get sacks. You got to go through the inside. You can't beat guys with speed. And you want to talk about his athleticism? He's extremely athletic for a guy that's a nose tackle.
Yeah.
And it was special, the pass rush. And you want to talk? I think the Giants had a lot of surviving and good enoughs this year, and I think that's what I really like to look at because the Giants turned into positive. The Giants had a lot of players that good enough. So you think if they have a good free agency and draft, I will say this: they are an off season away because you think about if your receiver core stayed healthy, how much special could that have been? If your cornerback stayed healthy, how much more special could your cornerback? If your middle linebackers stay healthy, how much more special that can be? And there's all those kind of things you think about what ifs for next season. I think a proper free agency and proper draft could do the Giants very well. What do you think? What do you say, Matthew?
Yeah, I agree. Like, now the Giants have a lot of cap space this season, $44 million. So we're gonna get we can get a lot done, and we're not gonna have like the 5th and 7th overall picks this year, obviously, but it's fine. We'll make it work.
And the season is affecting the season.
All right. So yeah, as we were saying, like the Giants don't have like a lot, like don't have like a high draft pick, which is fine. Um,
Yeah, and you know what, the Giants, I think another thing that the Giants have going, the fan base is back on their side. Me and Matthew attended a ton of games this season. Matthew, tell me a little bit about how you think the atmosphere was different compared to the last season when you went to games.
so I was at the game versus Carolina, the home opener, and the game versus the Colts, which is where they clinched this season. When Landon Collins made the pick six versus Indianapolis, the place went insane. It felt like it was 2016 again. Like Landon Collins making interceptions. It just bring me back to like the last time the Giants made the playoffs before that season, like when Landon Collins was like a star.
Yeah, and you know, you want to talk about, people don't realize, but there's such thing as home field advantage. And the Giants had that this year. You know, the fans loved it. And, once you got the fan support, it takes a lot of pressure off other guys. Like, because New York's such a fun market to play in. It takes pressure off a guy like Daniel Jones. It takes pressure off a guy like Brian Dable and Joe Shane to get everything perfect. Because things aren't, perfect. And I guess I want to touch on that Our Way brand. You know, the Giants Our Way brand, and the pride uniting New York again. And with the Rangers, with how they have the No Quit in New York brand, and those brands just are meant to bring back pride in New York and unite the fans together. So I really think that's pretty much it. Matt, any closing comments?
Yeah, real quick, like with the No Quit New York brand and the Our Way brand. Yeah, like he's a Rangers fan. I'm an Islanders fan, and like being a Giants fan this season was like being an Islanders fan back 4 years ago because we lost to Barris. We hired Barry Trotz, who was an excellent head coach, and like still no one gave us a chance to win. And
Yeah,
everyone thought we were going to finish 27th overall in the NHL. And then throughout the season, it went from draft position to playoff position. Even Brendan Burke said, the Islanders' main announcer, he said before Game 1 versus the Penguins in 2019, well, this was never supposed to happen. Not this year and certainly not in this building, but here we are at Nassau Coliseum on the 10th of April for round 1 of Game 1 of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And
yeah. I think we've seen that. With the Giants, just a perfect example. But Brian Dable said last spring, he said, I want to play meaningful games in December. That's our goal, and we're going to do it. And to say to play meaningful games is an understatement.
yeah,
Because the difference between this Giants team and the other Giants team is they won the meaningful games that they have been able to win last few seasons. All those bitter losses on the end, like they won them. And I just one last closing statement from me: the Giants won on prime time. I hate to say it, but it's been far and few for the Giants, and a lot of going to bed late and not waking up happy. But to be honest, after that Washington game, I don't know about you, Matt, but I woke up like the happiest man in the world.
oh yeah. I remember last year versus Washington, like the week 2
Yeah,
game, they played horrible. Like the Giants should have won that game.
and
Um,
then just women, you go to bed and they just you could how many things they could have had and just they blow the opportunity. So I guess that's pretty much a recap from me and Matthew, the 2022 Giants season. We're really sorry about the delays. We had to film multiple times, and we're hoping, by next weekend to post another video and without technical difficulties. Obviously, our faces on screen because of technical difficulties. Hoping to post next week about a draft and free agent, maybe with some special guests.
yeah,
Matthew just has a closing statement on the support that we've got.
yeah. Like we want to say like real quick, thank you so much for the support. I know it's only been like 3 days, and like you've already like left so much support.
Yeah, we hope you keep on liking and subscribing. And this is Talking Blue, go Big Blue, and that's all we got.
All right, see you later.